All right, should we get started? How'd it go? You can tell me later. Yeah, hopefully that went well for you. My goal, I say this repeatedly, my goal as an instructor is just to give you as much resources as I can, so that you're prepared with the skills we're working on this semester. So if there's ever anything that feels like is missing, just let me know, even if it's like for the past. Every bit of feedback you give goes into next time we teach this in the department. So we have this sort of, progressive construction of the class through time. So one of the things we're doing this semester, so we just took a mini-exam. You're telling me that you understand the material from a theoretical perspective. But then we also have the sort of practical side. So can we actually deliver on the things that we're talking about? Like, you can create by hand a nice visualization, but to use real data, especially when the data set is very large, we actually need to do this by computer. So we have sort of two tracks. One is the mini-exam side, where we do this theoretically, and then the other track is the project. What we're doing over the semester is building up slowly towards a final project, which will demonstrate the first 5 parts of the semester. What we've covered so far is part 1, summarizing single variables. So what we're doing in the part 1 project is you're getting your hands on a data set of your choosing, picking a question, and then summarizing a single variable. My expectation with this is that it probably won't take more than half an hour to do. This is really just to get started thinking about data sets and kinds of questions you might have some interest in working on with data. Also, this is a good time to find someone who has similar interests to you. Maybe someone who you sit next to who's friendly, who shares some common interests, or maybe someone like across the room, I don't know. You choose who you work with. But the final project is, it can be done by yourself, but I strongly don't recommend it. I recommend you work with someone on the final project. If you decide to work with someone on the part 1 project, you can always change, so you're not like stuck. You can also always change your question. So this is really just to get you started. It doesn't lock you into anything. This is just like the first building block on our way to the final project. So let me just walk you through some of the resources available. So on Gradescope, this is going to look different on my end than it will on yours. But you can see there's the part 1 project. This is just some of the stuff I'm looking for. Really, there's 3 parts to it. You just pick a data set that you're interested in. I'm going to show you some options for data sets in a second. But you think about something you're interested in that involves data, and then use a data set from one of the sources I'm giving you. But you get to choose. That's the important part here. I'm not giving you a data set. I'm not telling you how to use it. You're picking the data set, and you're summarizing it on your own. So then for for the first part of the question, describe the data source, who collected the data. This is just essentially citing your source. So just tell me who's collecting the data, where to come from, and just a little bit about the data. There's nothing really formal about this. This is just, I want you to be thinking about where your data is coming from. So tell me where it's coming from. For the second one, this is just diagramming your data, so you're familiar with these things. The index variable just, I or t, and then the name of the variables that are the index variables. And then what's the meaningful variable type? So just categorical, numerical, and so on. The things you're very familiar with at this point. And then the data structure. So just tell me what data structure you're working with. So classic diagramming. And then summarizing the main variables of interest. So this one is where you actually sit down with the data set and write some code to generate a figure. You'll put your name as the title to the figure. This just tells me that you made it. I'm going to show you a bunch of figures that other students have made in past semesters. So I just want one that's from you. So just set your name as the title. And that's about all the guidance I'm going to give you. Like the training wheels are starting to come off. You're going to find the data set. You're going to summarize it with a figure. Any questions here? James. It can be really any data set. In this class, we're focusing on economics. It's what I do. But the tools we're working with are very broad. And so we can, if you have non-economics kinds of questions, you can work on those too. I'll show you a bunch of examples in a second. Any other questions? Okay, so let me just show you some of what other students have done. So if you hop down to the projects page, I think this link is broken. I'll update this later. But I have a bunch of final projects from past semesters. This is like 2 semesters worth of final projects. And I have a bunch of replication files, which is, I have a bunch of data sets on my website, and I have a bunch of notebooks constructed from what students have done for their final projects last semester. I also have the slides in the paper. This semester, I expect a sort of a higher bar than last semester. You're seeing what other students have done. I'm going to show you some of the highlighted ones, the ones I liked the best from last semester. And but I think the level of work this semester will be higher. You're seeing what other students have done in a way that hasn't happened before. So you get to critique what others have done, and then you get. So let me just show you some of this stuff. I think this is just one of my favorite things. At the end of the semester, instead of taking a final, you get to do this, which I love it. And past semesters, students have liked this. So these are just some of the ones I've highlighted. I'll talk you through some of the other ones. Yeah, some really great projects. And if you click on the notebook, you can see some of the replication, like the code, and then a description of what they're doing. This is a link to the data set, so you can find it here. And then there's just all the different steps. You can see the visualizations of the models and so on. So this is an example where there's a nice data set. This is actually an amazing data set of county level returns in presidential elections. But they don't have a descriptive figure in their notebook. So if you were to use this notebook as your starting place, you were interested in political data and you wanted to visualize maybe a distribution of presidential returns by county, you could start with this notebook. You could go up here, click File, Save As, and then it would be on your in your Google Drive. It would include the link to the data set on my website. So you could just use that as your file path. But you wouldn't have a summary. So there would be no histogram of election returns by county. You'd have to make that yourself. So this is just one example. Lots of examples of this. I have a notebook for lots and lots of projects from past semesters. Your job is to go through and, if I were you, I would spend about half an hour just reading through what other students have done, just to get a sense of the kinds of things people have done in the past. And maybe get a sense of the data that's already on the course website. So that's a nice one. Gender wage gap is clearly an economics example. Urban-rural polarization is like a political economy kind of question. Which maple is best? This is a great example of like, it's like environmental economics. They tried to estimate the value of different kinds of trees in Pittsburgh. Just a truly amazing little project here. You can click on the notebook and see all their work. Yeah, just really cool. You can see their slides. So you can just click on the slides here. I loved their project. I think their slides, we could do better. So yeah, so lots of little projects here. I think this is pretty amazing. Then there's a bunch of other topics. So if you're interested in a topic, I just organized lots of replications by topic. So you can just go through and click on any one of these and you'll find a notebook with a data set that's linked to that you can work on. So this is, I think, what most people are going to do to start is you're going to use one of these examples as a jumping off point. You can't just copy what someone else has done. If someone else has already asked the same question as what you want to ask, your job is to do it better. So you have to figure out a way of doing it better than what students have done before. You can also use one of the data sets someone has used before and ask a different question. So those kinds of routes are all available to you. Politics and elections, labor, wages, education. So there's only one here. I've had a lot of students work on sports. So if you're into sports, there's a bunch of projects here. So yeah, lots of really great stuff. I've highlighted my favorite ones at the top, but you can look around. Like I mentioned, I think you should start by just browsing what's already here and then figure out if there's a data set that's already here that would be interesting to you. The second route is to go out and find your own data set. I've given, in this project template at the top, I've given a link to a bunch of data sources. So if you don't find a data set that's interesting to you, you can find one on this list. These are just some of the common ones. And then there's a little bit of extra work required to use your own data set that's not hosted on my website. You can access data in your Google Drive account with Google Colab. So you can import data into Colab from your Google Drive account, but there's an extra step. If you want that extra step, you can try to get started with the project template notebook here. And if you get stuck, you can just reach out to me. James?
How do you go about finding these data sets? Because let's say I don't know if you
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, I said, how do you go about finding the data sets that
Yeah.
you use? I don't want to do one of those listed. In
Yeah.
order to go out, obviously you can look it up on the internet, but if it's like niche data, how would
Yeah.
you go about finding it?
Yeah, so like I'm giving you a list of data sources here. So these are like pretty common ones. If you don't want to use one of these, you have to do a bit of searching. So like I would start with a Google search and see if there's a data set available. There are websites devoted to holding niche data sets. And if you like truly can't find it on the internet, I can maybe help direct you. But yeah, so that would be a great path to go if you don't find anything here that you're interested in. Yeah, what else? So we're getting started early in the semester. This is the first step. I think this should not take more than half an hour. And I hope you spend most of your time browsing, just looking at different data sources, thinking about questions that might be of interest to you. I hope you pick a question that's very interesting to you, that you're interested in spending a semester thinking about. And if you spend like 3 weeks thinking about it and you get bored, you can switch. You're never locked in, but prioritize your personal interest in the project, even if that means breaking some of the rules of what I've set up here. Sound all right? So we're going to spend the rest of class. I just want you to go through and browse some of these things. Also, I want you. I hope you work in groups. There are people around you who would love to work with you. You just have to figure out who those people are, and then exchange contact information. So make sure you can get in touch with each other outside of this room. Sound good? That's not the rousing enthusiasm I'm looking for. This is where we start doing the real work. Like, mini exams are great, but this is the real stuff. So check in with someone next to you, see if someone else has some similar interests, spend some time browsing, thinking about what you might be interested in, and then we'll be set. That's all I have to say. Yeah, that'll be in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'll send out the new
Will we have the exam on March 19th?
That'll be the first. Is that the first week back from second week? Let me get back to you.
Okay.
I'm about to write down all the dates now that we have the.
Okay, because we're in technically like our off season, so like,
Okay.
but we have it on Thursday.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
since, or if we do, like, would I be able to take it like with the earlier?
Totally. Yeah. So we can work around. What's your sport?
Soccer.
Okay.
And so technically we're not allowed to miss like class 4 games, but if it was an like if it were a class, I could obviously watch the lecture recording, but if it were a facility, I would have to work out because it's like off campus.
So we can work
So-
around that. So
okay.
yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Just if when I schedule it, if it does conflict, just let me know.
Okay.
I'm probably not gonna remember the
Yeah.
specific details. So just let me know. But I can take it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to just like come up with something, right? I'll do that. I'll look through what everybody else has already done before. But if I want to find my own data sets, how far back should they go? What's like the how early can they be?
It doesn't. There's no historical limit. So you could use one from I took a survey of the class at the beginning of the semester. If you had access to that, you could use that.
Okay.
If you had something from like 1830, you could use that.
Okay. Like going back from like 2018 to present day, is that long enough for like a time span for like a?
Depending on the question. Okay. Like you wouldn't want to ask like the historical trend of GDPs using a data set that short, but there would be some questions.
Okay. I'll have to like, I don't know. I think it's hard for me to even ask a reasonable time frame without a solid question in mind right now. So
That's part of the hard part of
Yeah.
these things.
okay. Will you be like open to talking about this?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorite things.
No way they watch the right way.